The coastal highway near Charleston winds beneath a sky scattered with stars, the horizon etched by swaying palm trees dancing to the salty Atlantic breeze. Waves break softly on the nearby shore, their whisper blending with the low hum of a black SUV cutting through the darkness with steady headlights. Its slightly tinted windows reflect the moonlight, casting an aura of discretion and authority. Behind the wheel is Major General Dot Wallace, 55, driving with calm precision. Dressed in civilian clothes, a perfectly tailored navy blazer, black slacks, and a white silk blouse, she exudes practical elegance. Her gray hair, tied in a low bun, catches the soft glow of the dashboard lights. On her ring finger shines her West Point class ring, a symbol of the road she's walked. Dot hums Amazing Grace, her voice gentle and melodic, filling the silence. It's a habit she's carried since childhood, singing in the pews of a small Baptist church in southern Georgia. She's exhausted after a 3-hour meeting at Fort Jackson, but her posture remains straight, the mark of 30 years of military discipline. 30 years in uniform taught me to keep my head high and my heart steady, she reflects, deep brown eyes fixed on the road ahead. I've led soldiers through storms and wars, rebuilt lives from the rubble, but some nights the world still asks you to prove who you are. Her hands grip the wheel with quiet strength, hands shaped by moments that defined her. At 25, Dot commanded her first logistics unit at Fort Bragg, facing whispers from male colleagues who questioned her abilities. A young black woman, too green for the role. She silenced them with flawless results, managing supplies with surgical precision. Years later, during Hurricane Katrina, she led rescue teams in New Orleans, walking through flooded streets to make sure food and blankets reached desperate families, her face drenched with sweat, but her resolve unshaken. In Afghanistan, at 40, she negotiated with tribal leaders under the scorching sun, earning their respect with her steady presence, even as some refused to meet her eyes. And even earlier, at 22, fresh out of West Point, she endured skeptical glances from superiors who saw her gender and skin color as weaknesses. Every slight, every challenge forged her. You don't survive that without learning to rise above disrespect, she thinks, a faint smile tugging at her lips. In the passenger seat, a black leather folder stamped with the Department of Defense, seal rests, stuffed with reports from today's meeting, logistical plans to protect coastal communities from approaching hurricanes. The dashboard clock reads 11:37 p.m. A barely audible sigh escapes her, the only trace of a day that started at 5 a.m. with a morning run, followed by briefings and commander calls. The SUV's interior is spotless and efficient, no frills. In the back seat, a military duffel holds her dress uniform, neatly folded for tomorrow's medal ceremony, where Dot will honor young soldiers. She thinks of them, especially the women, the ones she always encourages. You're stronger than you know. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Tucked in the corner of the dashboard is a small photo sticker, Dot and her 15-year-old niece laughing at a family picnic. A reminder of what keeps her grounded. Duty, yes, but love too. A breeze slips through the slightly open window, carrying the scent of salt and seaweed as Dot adjusts her rearview mirror, her eyes catching. A flicker of resolve. The highway stretches ahead, more deserted now, Charleston's lights fading in the mirror. A pair of headlights appears in the opposite lane, then disappears quickly into the night. The calm of the evening feels almost tangible, yet a subtle tension lingers, as if the balance of the night is about to shift. Unaware of what lies ahead, Dot keeps her focus on the road, dreaming of her modest home just outside Charleston, a cup of chamomile tea and her soft bed waiting to offer peace after a day of invisible battles. Every choice defines who you are, she thinks, her inner voice calm but heavy with meaning. But life has a way of reminding you, not every battle comes with a warning. Some begin with red and blue lights in your mirror. The darkness of night blankets the coastal road, now a narrow stretch flanked by tall grass whispering in the wind. A lone street lamp casts a flickering yellow glow over the cracked asphalt. Red and blue lights erupt into the silence, pulsing, like a racing heartbeat in the rearview mirror of Dorothy Dot Wallace's black SUV. The vehicle slows with precision, tires crunching against the loose gravel shoulder. A hint of salt rides the night breeze, but the calm is quickly swallowed by rising tension. Inside the SUV, Dot keeps her hands on the steering wheel, her fingers tapping lightly, a subconscious habit formed over years of calmly navigating crises. Her face, lit by the faint glow of the dashboard, bears the lines of a long, exhausting day, but her brown eyes stay sharp, alert. The echo of Amazing Grace lingers in her mind, the same melody that soothed her during overseas missions, now a fragile anchor amid the growing unease. Stay centered, she tells herself, remembering a night in Baghdad when she kept her composure while negotiating safe passage for a convoy under hostile eyes. You've been here before. On the center console, a travel mug of coffee, now cold, sways. Gently, a leftover from the endless meeting at Fort Jackson. Nearby, a notebook rests, its pages marked with reminders for tomorrow's ceremony. In the rearview mirror, Dot watches as the Charleston police cruiser pulls up, its high beams casting long, skewed shadows. The door opens with a sharp clack, and Sergeant Frank Colton, 42, steps out with authority. He's an imposing figure, uniform stretched across broad shoulders, leather belt creaking with each step. A badge gleams on his chest, but it's the holstered weapon at his hip that draws the eye, his right hand hovering near it like a quiet threat. His face, half shadowed by the brim of his cap, is locked in a hard jaw and eyes that seem to search for someone to blame. A radio crackles softly on his shoulder, and a silver pen glints from his pocket, ready for quick citations. Dot lowers the window halfway, keeping her hands visible, her posture upright despite the weight of the day. Same old dance, she thinks, memories of past stops flashing back. One in Alabama at 35, when an officer questioned her rank, another in Virginia at 48, when she was called sweetheart with a patronizing grin. Always the same implication. A woman like her, black, seasoned, didn't belong in charge. But Dot swallows the frustration, channeling it into precision. Show them who you are, without saying a word, she remembers, echoing the advice of a mentor at Fort Bragg. Frank positions himself at the window, shining a tactical flashlight directly into her eyes, the harsh beam forcing her to glance away. License and registration now, he barks, his tone as rough as if she were an inconvenience. The superiority in his voice is unmistakable. Dot immediately knows he doesn't see a person. He sees someone to dominate. Good evening, officer, she replies, calm, but with a firmness that lands like a command. May I ask the reason for the stop? Each word is deliberate, a subtle refusal to be disrespected, but also an invitation for him to justify himself. Frank tilts his head, the beam of the flashlight now dancing through the interior of the SUV, inspecting every corner. You were drifting over the line, he says, voice laced with sarcasm. Seemed confused. Maybe had a little drink, huh, ma'am? He spits the word ma'am like a slur, a deliberate stab at Dot's dignity, reducing her to a caricature, old, fragile, undeserving of respect. Dot presses her lips together briefly, anger burning in her chest. I don't drink, officer, she replies, voice still composed but laced with steel. I drove within the law. Could you specify what you observed? She knows it's a tightrope. Men like Frank don't like being questioned, especially by a woman who doesn't bow. He steps closer, body crowding the window, flashlight back in her face. I don't have to explain myself, ma'am, he snaps, voice louder, edged with irritation. License, registration, or this gets messy. The radio on his shoulder hisses, echoing his impatience. Dot sees the glint of satisfaction in his eyes. He enjoys this. The power, the pressure. Slowly, deliberately, Dot reaches for the glove compartment, eyes locked on Frank from the corner of her vision. "This is an official government vehicle," she says, handing over her license and military ID, her rank clearly displayed. "I'm Major General Dorothy Wallace." The ID glows under the flashlight, but Frank snatches it with disdain, barely glancing before shoving it into his pocket. "General, huh?" he scoffs, a dry laugh escaping. "Out here, that don't mean squat. Step out of the vehicle." The words drip with arrogance. Dot feels the sting, not because of her rank, but because of how he sees her. A black woman, older, defiant. He wants to put me in my place, she thinks, remembering a meeting where a colleague tried to silence her, expecting compliance. She didn't comply then. She won't now. "I'm not above the law," Dot says, voice steady but without submission. "I've cooperated. What's the reason for exiting the vehicle?" Her hands rest calmly in her lap, her body still, but her presence is undeniable, a quiet force in contrast to Frank's aggression. He slaps the flashlight against his palm, the sound cracking through the night. "You trying to be difficult? Out, now, or I'll drag you out." His voice is a low growl, radio hissing again. Dot notices sweat gleaming on his forehead, despite the cool air. "You're wasting my time, ma'am," he adds, the words slicing like a blade, a reminder that to him, she's just a woman, not a leader. Dot feels the fury rise but transforms it into clarity. She thinks of the young soldiers she mentors, of the women who've told her stories of disrespect. This moment will not be erased. With controlled precision, she picks up her phone from the console, turns on the camera, and places it on the dashboard. The red recording light blinks. "Just to be clear," she says, voice steady as stone, "I'm recording this interaction." Frank blinks, a flicker of hesitation crossing his face, but pride won't let him back down. "Record all you want," he spits, pointing his flashlight at the door. "Out, now." The command is almost a shout. Dot realizes he's scrambling. To regain control, threatened by her calm, she takes a deep breath, eyes locked on his. "You don't win by backing down," she thinks, summoning the image of her grandmother facing insults in 1960s Georgia with her chin high. With a dignity that disarms, Dot opens the door and steps out, her tall frame commanding attention. Her silhouette, against the street lamp, is striking. Even in civilian clothes, her presence makes Frank instinctively take half a step back. There's no aggression in her movements, only the kind of confidence that unsettles weak men. Frank points to the ground where the gravel glints in the flashlight's beam. "Walk that line," he orders, voice tinged with a cruel satisfaction. "Let's see if you're as steady as you think, ma'am." The wind picks up, lifting dust, and Dot feels his gaze like a weight, judging her as if she were a rookie, not a woman who's led missions through war zones. She walks the line with military precision, each step firm, perfectly balanced on the uneven gravel. Years of training, night marches, pressure drills, make the test laughably easy. Frank's face tightens, frustration plain, as he scribbles on his ticket pad. He rips the citation and thrusts it toward her. "Reckless driving. Next time, follow orders, ma'am," he sneers, the contempt in his voice unmistakable. Dot takes the paper, her eyes meeting his, not with anger, but with a strength that unravels him. "Good night, officer," she says, voice like a verdict. She returns to the SUV, closes the door with a soft click, and starts the engine. The phone keeps recording, capturing Frank's retreat to his cruiser, flashlight now trembling slightly in his grip. As she drives away, the ticket rests lightly in her hand, but its weight is heavy with meaning. "You picked the wrong battle," she thinks as Charleston's lights appear in the distance, a beacon of justice ahead. If Dot's story speaks to you, we want to hear yours. Have you ever had to stand your ground against injustice or disrespect? Share your story in the comments and let us know where you're writing from, your city and country. like this video, and subscribe to our channel. Here, we celebrate voices that refuse to be silenced. Soft morning light filters through the blinds of an office at Fort Jackson, casting golden streaks across white walls. A large window frames a courtyard where soldiers march in formation, their voices rising in rhythmic cadence. The air carries the scent of fresh coffee mingled with newly printed paper. In the center of the room, a polished oak desk is neatly arranged with topographic maps, a silver fountain pen, and a framed photo of Dot in uniform, smiling beside a group of women soldiers in training. Major General Dot Wallace sits in an ergonomic chair, the sleeves of her white shirt rolled up to the elbows, revealing strong forearms shaped by years of physical discipline. Her gray hair, now loose, falls in soft waves over her shoulders, a rare moment of ease. Her brown eyes, still shadowed from the tension of the night before, are locked on the tablet screen in front of her, where the dashcam video plays silently on a loop. The traffic citation for reckless driving sits beside it, the paper crumpled as if Dot had squeezed it in her fist. She drums her fingers on the desk, slow, almost meditative. He didn't see a general, she thinks, indignation pulsing in her chest. He saw an older black woman, thought he could erase me. Dot leans back, the leather of her chair creaking. Her mind flashes back to when she was 28, publicly humiliated by a superior for someone else's mistake, expecting her, the only woman in the room, to stay silent. She shut him down with facts and won respect. Years later, during a mission in Central America, a contractor refused to negotiate with her, claiming, "Women don't understand logistics." She closed the deal in hours with hard data. Same tactic every time, she reflects, jaw tight. Minimize to control, but I don't bow. A wall clock ticks, 7:15 a.m. On the desk, a vase with a white orchid adds softness, a gift from a recruit Dot helped through training. Beside it, an honorary badge from a veterans organization gleams, a symbol of her influence. Dot picks up her phone and rereads the message she sent at midnight to Dr. Rachel Bennett, her attorney. "I need you. Incident last night. Video. Attached." She knows Rachel, driven, fierce, has probably already mapped out their next move. A soft knock at the door, then it opens. Captain Lisa Monroe, 34, steps in with a tray holding a steaming mug of chamomile tea and a few oatmeal cookies. Lisa, her brown hair in a ponytail, her eyes full of concern, wears her army uniform crisp and sharp. "Ma'am, something to start the day," she says, setting the tray down. Her tone is respectful but familiar, earned over years at Dot's side. Dot smiles. A flash of warmth in the storm. "You always know, Lisa," she says, cradling the mug, its heat seeping into her hands. The aroma of tea brings back memories of her mother comforting her with herbal brews on hard nights. "But I'm not okay. You saw the video." Her voice is steady, but beneath it, a private vulnerability shows, one she rarely shares. Lisa sits across from her, arms crossed. "It was outrageous, ma'am. That cop, the way he spoke to you, treated you. It wasn't just disrespect, it was targeted, because of who you are." She pauses, choosing her words carefully. "A woman, black, in your position. He wanted to humiliate you." Dot nods, eyes flicking to the tablet, the screen frozen on Frank Colton's aggressive flashlight. "It's not new, Lisa," she says, her voice low but firm. "Remember Norfolk, 5 years ago? A Navy officer cut me off 3 times, said I should double-check the figures. Never did that to the men." She takes a sip of tea, the warmth grounding her. "It's always the same. They see age, color, gender, and think they can erase us. Colton picked the wrong target." Lisa leans forward, voice solid. "So what do we do? You're not letting this slide, are you? That video is proof." Dot sets the mug down, her eyes sparking with resolve. "No, Lisa, I'm not letting it slide. Not just for me. For every woman who's been told to shut up, for every soldier I train, for every girl who sees me and dares to believe she belongs. Here. She thinks of her niece, dreaming of becoming an engineer, of letters from veterans thanking her for being a voice. If I stay quiet, I open the door for this to keep happening, and I don't open doors for injustice. She picks up a notepad stamped with the Fort Jackson logo. Her silver pen glides as she writes a list. Rachel Bennett, the Inspector General, a contact at the Department of Justice. Rachel's already in, Dot says without looking up. She'll want court, and so do I. This video isn't just defense, it's ammunition. Her tone is calm, but behind it is the precision of a woman who's planned missions in war zones. Lisa smiles, a touch of awe in her voice. You're a force, ma'am, but this could go public. Are you ready for that? Dot looks out the window where the soldiers are still marching, the future of the army moving in sync. I've faced hurricanes, wars, and men who said I didn't belong. Spotlights don't scare me. She stands, walking to the window, her silhouette a pillar of resilience in the morning light. I want this to echo. I want every woman who's ever been called ma'am with contempt to know she can fight back. She returns to the desk, pausing to pick up the honorary badge. My grandmother used to say, for evil to win, the good just have to stay silent. She meets Lisa's eyes. I won't be silent. The clock strikes 7:30. A soft chime on the tablet, Rachel confirming a meeting in 2 hours. Dot nods to herself. The decision is made. Let it come, she thinks, 30 years of battle-tested strength rising in her veins. The legal office at Fort Jackson is stark but efficient. Concrete walls are lined with Army commendation plaques and a strategic map of the South Carolina coast. A steel desk, worn smooth with use, holds a flat-screen monitor, a heavy-duty intercom, and a tray with aluminum water bottles. The muffled sound of marching boots echoes from the hallway, blending with the low hum of a floor fan that rustles papers held in place by magnetic clips. Major General Dot Wallace sits at the desk, having returned to her post for a meeting with her legal counsel. Her brown eyes, still burning from last night's injustice, follow Colonel Rachel Bennett, 48, a sharp attorney from the Judge Advocate General's Corps, JAG. Rachel, in full service uniform adorned with colonel insignia, gestures toward ASI magnetic whiteboard, her voice slicing through the air with military precision. Captain Lisa Monroe stands beside Dot, taking notes on an encrypted tablet. Her uniform is spotless, catching the light from the window. Rachel underlines several key phrases on the board. Unlawful detention, constitutional violations, evidence, with a blue marker. Dot, we've got a strong case, she says, her voice firm with conviction. The video from your phone, along with Colton's body cam footage, shows clear intimidation with no legal cause. We can file a formal complaint against the police department and pursue a civil lawsuit. For gender discrimination. She turns, eyes sharp with strategy. Your call? Military tribunal for federal jurisdiction or straight to civil court? And do you want to push for an investigation into broader police practices? Dot crosses her arms, the traffic citation for reckless driving still in her bag, a quiet weight fueling her resolve. I want full impact, Rachel, she says, voice calm but commanding, enough to make Lisa pause mid-note. This isn't just about me. It's for every woman who's been disrespected by someone in power. Every female soldier I look in the eye and tell to be strong. She thinks of the women who approach her after ceremonies, sharing their stories of humiliation and of the burden of being an example. Colton and anyone shielding him need to be held accountable. I want change. Lisa looks at Dot, her voice steady but concerned. We have solid proof, ma'am, but Colton won't go down quietly. He struck me. As the type who doesn't take being challenged well. What if they go after your reputation, your rank, your identity? They've done that before. She hesitates, softening her tone. Are you ready for the blowback? Dot smiles. a sharp, confident smile. My record is my defense, Lisa. 30 years of service, bulletproof results, let them try. Her voice is steady, but the tension in the room thickens, like the air itself is warning them. The fan oscillates. Papers on the desk tremble slightly, as if something's coming. Rachel steps back to the board, drawing a line between complaint and court. Then we file the complaint today and demand Colton's suspension. After that, we hit civil court. For rights violations, this could escalate to the Department of Justice. She looks at Dot, assessing. They'll dig into your past. Every mission, every decision. Are you ready for that? Dot straightens, unshaken. My life is my strength, Rachel. Let them look. She thinks of the soldiers who see her as a mentor, her niece who dreams big, and the promise she made never to fold in the face of injustice. I want the next woman pulled over by a Colton to know she can speak up. That starts with me. The tension spikes as the intercom buzzes, sharp and sudden, slicing through the room. A voice crackles through, tense and alert. Colonel Bennett, Major General Wallace, there's a visitor at the main gate. He's requesting to speak with the general, says it's urgent. Rachel frowns and exchanges a look with Dot, who remains composed, but her fingers tighten slightly on the edge of the desk. Lisa leans in, alert, her tablet forgotten. Who is it? Rachel asks, pressing the intercom, voice steady but cautious. The sergeant hesitates. Static buzzes. Captain Robert Hayes, Charleston Police Department. He has clearance, but insists on speaking face to face. The air grows heavier, the silence broken only by the fan's low drone. Dot raises an eyebrow, her mind racing. Hayes, a new name, but a senior officer showing up at Fort Jackson hours after the incident reeks of desperation. Interesting, she murmurs, suspicion thick in her voice. Let him in, she says, taking command before Rachel can respond. Her tone is firm, combat-ready. Rachel nods, but her eyes are sharp with caution. Stay sharp, Dot. This isn't a courtesy visit. Lisa adjusts her stance, ready to record every word. The magnetic board seems to pulse with the blue-marked phrases, like a battle plan about to be tested. The door clicks open, and in walks Captain Robert Hayes, a clean-cut man in his 50s with close-cropped gray hair and a perfectly pressed uniform. His command badge gleams. He carries a slim leather folder sealed with a metal clip, and his boots shine like they were polished just for this moment. His smile is polite, too polite, masking calculation. Major General Wallace, he says, extending a hand. His voice is smooth, too smooth for the situation. Thank you for receiving me on your turf. I came to talk about the incident. Dot shakes his hand, her grip firm, eyes scanning his for truth. Captain Hayes, she replies, polite, but laced with challenge. Didn't expect a visit to my base this early. What's the reason? She gestures to a metal chair beside the desk, but remains standing, her presence dominating the room. Hayes sits, placing the folder on the table, still unopened. I heard about the issue with Sergeant Colton, he begins, smile fixed, eyes drifting to the whiteboard. A misunderstanding, I'm sure. I'm here to offer a solution, off the record. He leans in, lowering his voice like he's confiding. We can void the citation, issue a formal apology, and handle Colton internally. No press, no complications. Best for everyone, don't you think? The twist is clear. Hayes is trying to bury the case, but the sealed folder suggests more, maybe leverage, maybe a distraction. Rachel crosses her arms, ready to speak, but Dot raises her hand to stay her. An apology, Dot repeats, her voice calm but sharp as steel. You think a woman publicly humiliated, treated like she was nothing by one of your own, is going to be satisfied with, I'm sorry? Her presence fills the room, and Hayes falters, his smile twitching. This isn't just about me, Captain, Dot continues, stepping forward, the window light casting her silhouette like a monument. It's about every woman your department failed to protect. Every citizen Colton thought he could crush. You think I'm going to be quiet to make your life easier? She points to the monitor, where the video is paused, Colton's image frozen mid-threat. That footage is the voice of the silenced, and I don't silence the truth. Hayes grips the folder tighter, fingers tense, his polished tone slipping. Think carefully, General, he warns, voice now edged. Cases like this attract unwanted attention for everyone. The threat lingers in the air, but Dot stands unflinching, her resolve sharpened by justice. Rachel steps forward, voice clipped and clear like a command. Thank you for your visit, Captain, but we're filing the complaint today. Court is waiting. Good day. She gestures to the door. Hayes hesitates, folder untouched, then rises, smile gone, boots echoing down the hall. Dot returns to her seat, heart steady, eyes lit with purpose. They're scared, she says almost to herself. Good. They should be. Lisa types quickly, a subtle smile forming, while Rachel begins organizing documents. The room hums with the energy of a fight just beginning. Dot knows. The road ahead will be hard, but she's ready. Not just for herself, but for every woman who deserves justice. 3 months later, the Charleston Federal Courthouse gleams under the twilight sky, its marble columns catching the golden-orange glow of the setting sun. Inside the courtroom, the air is thick with anticipation, tinged with the scent of polished wood and aged leather. Walnut benches line the room, filled with journalists, activists, and uniformed military personnel. Their whispers fade beneath the soaring stained glass ceiling, which filters the fading light in hues of amber. At the center, the judge's chair dominates the space, raised on a platform with intricate geometric carvings. To the right, a dark, ebony bookshelf holds thick legal volumes, while a pendulum clock on the wall ticks with a solemn rhythm, like a beating heart. Major General Dot Wallace sits in the front row of the plaintiff's side, wearing a deep green tailored dress. Her silver-gray hair falls in soft waves, reflecting a serene strength that shines even outside her uniform. Her brown eyes, steady and unwavering, are fixed on the judge, an older man with white hair and a black robe, flipping through documents with methodical precision. Next to Dot, Colonel Rachel Bennett, in full JAG dress uniform, holds a highlighter, her notes carefully arranged in a leather folder. Captain Lisa Monroe, also in uniform, clutches a discreet digital recorder, ready to capture history in the making. The tension is almost tangible, like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. Rachel leans in, her voice a firm whisper. No matter what the verdict is, Dot, you've already turned Charleston upside down. The video is everywhere. Women are listening. Her eyes shine with pride, a bond forged through shared battle. Dot nods, the traffic citation for reckless driving, now a distant footnote, replaced by a resolve that seems to radiate through the room. I didn't come here for recognition, Rachel, she murmurs, her voice low but steady. I came for justice, for every woman who faced the same thing and didn't have a camera. She thinks of the female soldiers who reached out to her, inspired by her courage, and the letter from her teenage niece that read, "You showed me how to be strong." I stood firm in my truth, she reflects, words that anchor her, reminding her that this fight was never just personal. The judge looks up. Silence falls like a curtain. In the case of Wallace versus the Charleston Police Department, he begins, his voice strong and deliberate. This court has reviewed the evidence, including the traffic stop video and witness testimonies. Dot holds her posture, but her fingers gently touch the bag at her side as the suspense builds like a gathering storm. Lisa exchanges a glance with Rachel. Both hold their breath. Journalists lean forward, pens ready, while an activist in the back row lifts a sign. Dot Wallace, our voice. The judge continues, his robe rustling. The actions of Sergeant Frank Colton constituted a violation of Major General Wallace's civil rights, based on both gender and racial discrimination. With no legal grounds, a ripple moves through the room, but Dot doesn't flinch, her eyes locked on the judge. The Charleston Police Department is found liable for failure in training and supervision. The citation is dismissed, and the plaintiff is awarded damages. For emotional distress, he pauses, reshuffling papers. Sergeant Colton is to be suspended immediately, pending disciplinary review. A restrained round of applause breaks out. But then, an unexpected turn. A surprise that transforms the victory into something greater. The judge raises a hand to quiet the room. Furthermore, he declares, voice cutting through the air, this court recommends that the Department of Justice launch a federal investigation into discriminatory practices within the Charleston Police Department based on evidence of systemic misconduct. The impact is electric. Dot's battle didn't just bring justice, it cracked the system wide open. A reckoning is coming for every Colton still out there. Rachel grabs Dot's hand, giving her a subtle smile while Lisa clicks on the recorder, preserving the moment for the base's archive. Dot breathes in, a mix of relief and renewed fire. I was not going to be silenced, she thinks. The words pulse like a hymn, a heartbeat of defiance. She glances at the ebony bookshelf, where light dances through stained glass. And in that moment, she feels the presence of those she stands for, fellow soldiers, activists, her niece. My strength came from knowing who I am, she reflects. Woman, black, leader, unshakable, and from the faith God planted in me, guiding every step, even when the path was dark. That faith, which carried her from childhood church pews to sleepless nights of doubt, is the light that led her to this victory. The judge strikes the gavel. Session adjourned. The courtroom bursts into applause and conversation. Rachel turns to Dot, her voice charged with emotion. You redrew the map, Dot. This is going to echo far beyond Charleston. It's a beacon for all women. Dot stands, her silhouette framed against the judge's bench like a monument to resilience. This doesn't end here, Rachel, she says, firm but warm. Every woman who rises after this carries this victory with her. She thinks of the soldiers who will see her on the news, the messages waiting for her niece who will tell this story again and again. A reporter approaches, but Dot raises a hand. Just a moment. She walks to the courthouse window, where twilight paints the streets of Charleston in gold. Outside, a crowd of women, veterans, civilians, and teens, hold signs reading "Unshakable Strength" in bold, vibrant letters. Their voices rise in unison, a chorus of support. Among them, her 15-year-old niece Maya holds a sign that reads, "Aunt Dot, my hero," her eyes shining with pride. Beside her, Dot's sister Elaine, 58, wipes a tear with a handkerchief, her face a mix of relief and admiration. Dot smiles, heart full, knowing that her stand lit a fire that will never go out. For every ma'am they tried to silence, she whispers. Justice spoke louder. The light of dusk glimmers in her eyes, and she feels the presence of the divine, guiding her, affirming her truth, and clearing a path for others to follow. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, please share it and subscribe for more.